About 20 years ago, I was invited to speak in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. Rabbi Lipinski, in case anybody knows. So I'm flying from Minnesota to Buenos Aires, and it was a long, miserable flight. From Minnesota to New York, from New York to Miami, from Miami, they stopped in Santiago, in Chile for some reason, unscheduled, and then finally Buenos Aires. So by the time we landed, I was in a very bad mood. But that's usually my experience. I don't like flying. But when I get there, the rabbi picks me up, we go to a hotel room, I recover, and then I'm ready to work for the next whatever week or so. So Rabbi Lipinski picks me up at the airport. We're in the car on the way to the hotel room, and I can't wait. He says to me, you know, there's a woman in the community who had a terrible tragedy, and she is severely depressed. She refuses to leave her apartment for over 6 months, and she doesn't want to talk to anybody, but she finally agreed to speak to you. So we'll stop at her apartment on the way to the hotel room, and you'll talk to her. I was not happy to hear that. Not exactly what I had in mind. I was really, really upset. First of all, does it have to be on the way to the hotel room? She's already depressed 6 months, can't wait another day. Also, if she's severely depressed, then what do you mean I'll talk to her? You talk to her. What do you say to somebody who's severely depressed? But what bothered me most is that they didn't warn me, they didn't ask me, they didn't tell me. They went ahead and made the appointment without asking. But she's expecting us, so we have to go. We come into the apartment, and this woman was no longer among the living. There was no life in her whatsoever. I mean, just by not leaving the apartment for 6 months, you can look pretty bad. But she really looked like the life was gone. Her face had no color, her voice, her eyes were dull. There was no life. And she tells me the story. She had a boy, 19 years old, in a car accident, and he didn't survive. And then she tells me what a great boy he was. Respectful, thoughtful, helpful. When she finishes describing him, what could I say? I said, that was really an amazing boy. You had him for 19 years. She was not impressed. So I said, imagine if there was no shock. Because it all happened so suddenly, no warning. But imagine if there was no shock. Imagine if you knew that this boy was going to live 19 years. Imagine if God came to you and said, there is a soul in heaven that needs to be born for 19 years, and I'm looking for someone to be his mother. And he asks you, would you please be the mother of this boy for 19 years? So there's no surprise. So if God would ask you to be the mother of this boy, what would you have said? I was sure she would say yes. Most people would. She said, absolutely not. So I was a little stunned. And I said, well, in that case, it's a good thing he didn't ask you. She started to cry like she needed to for the entire 6 months. She cried bitter, sobbing tears for about 20 minutes, and then she was back among the living. She came alive. It's got to be the most dramatic and the most meaningful and the most awesome experience in 50-some years of talking to people. Literally seeing a person come alive in front of your eyes. We're back in the car and we're going to the hotel room. And I'm thinking, I was so upset. I was upset that they didn't ask me. And then I thought, if they did ask me, what would my answer have been? I would have said absolutely no. And it would have been the wrong answer. Because I wouldn't want to miss that experience. It's still the most powerful, the most amazing, the biggest favor you could do a person, to see her come alive. So I resolved that from now on, if I'm asked to do something, even if I'm not in the mood, the answer is absolutely yes. Because you never know when you may be saying no to the best thing in your life. That was 20 years ago. 4 months ago, I was invited to speak in Mexico City. I arrived there, and I'm not in a good mood. I've got a headache. It just wasn't, not a good mood. Guy picks me up. We're in the car. The traffic is horrible. So we're driving through the traffic, and he says, "We're not like Argentina. I'm taking you straight to the hotel room." He had heard the story. So he says, "We're not like in Argentina. I'm taking you straight to the hotel room." I said, "Thank you." He says, "At the hotel, there's a couple waiting for you." Who suffered a terrible tragedy, and they don't want to talk to any rabbis. They're very angry, they're very upset, but they agreed to talk to you, so they're waiting at the hotel. I said, "Can it be an hour from now?" "No, the man has to leave, he's going to Israel, it's got to be now." I said, "Can I at least go up to the room, put my suitcase away?" "We'll take care of the suitcase, you go talk to him." But we're not like Argentina. We're so much better. Anyway, again, the same experience. I really didn't want to do it. I needed some Tylenol to help with the headache. I didn't want to do it. The nicest couple I've ever met. They lost a 9-year-old daughter, a gorgeous little kid. It was horrible. And they're angry at God. He used to put on tefillin, he stopped. He used to keep Shabbat, he stopped. What do you say? He says, "I'm so angry at God." You know why? Because I love God. Why did he do this to me? He says, "He stabbed me in the back." We spoke for about 40 minutes. I said, "Look, to be angry at God is perfectly okay. It's a Jewish thing. People who are religious are afraid to be angry at God. But people who know God can be angry at him. What did he expect? He knew you'd be angry at him. So be angry. It's a good, healthy thing. Especially it was only 8 months earlier that they lost their daughter. But now I'm thinking, they already spoke to all the rabbis, they're burnt out. They heard all the conventional answers. What am I going to come up with? So I had to say something different, like to even get their attention. So I asked the father, I said, has your daughter visited you yet? He says, oh, nobody asked me that. Did she visit? Yes, twice. Each time she was smiling, she was laughing, she was telling me that she's okay. I said, she came twice. One time to tell you that she's okay. What was the second time? The second time she was trying to tell you that she doesn't want to be responsible for your anger, or for your not putting on tefillin, or for your not keeping Shabbos. Why are you doing this to her? You're her father. Take care of her. She wants to be happy, but if you're not, how can she be? We spoke about it for a few minutes, and he said, okay, so should I put on the tefillin now, or should I wait till I get home? Exactly the same thing. I didn't want to do it, and it was the most beautiful, the most amazing, incredible. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal, it's questions and answers, it's conversation. It's really relaxed, it's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us, take a look, click the link below, and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.